You receive the briefing on the anomaly in dark web traffic, starting the investigation clock under supervisor oversight. You log into the monitoring system, accessing the provided logs for the initial review of the anomaly. The routine begins with a keystroke, entering the first log entry under the weight of institutional scrutiny. Your supervisor outlines the anomaly in the dark web traffic, emphasizing the need for precise tracing and timely reporting. You record the first alert in the system, noting the severity level and initial response required for further monitoring. The investigation expands as you access the network trace tools, mapping potential endpoints from the provided data. Every step is logged meticulously, with the system recording each hop count and endpoint for the trace summary. You monitor the signal through multiple hubs, tracking its weakening pattern as procedural pressure mounts. An alert record flags an irregularity, demanding immediate attention and detailed logging before the shift ends. The investigation memo requires accuracy, with every entry reviewed by authority under strict institutional hierarchy. You cross-reference data with a colleague, ensuring the trace is mapped correctly to avoid errors in the final report. You review accumulated logs, identifying key patterns in the anomaly that will inform the next steps of the trace. You submit a preliminary update, noting the signal's behavior and requesting further logs for deeper investigation. The investigation clock ticks steadily, with each minute adding pressure to complete the trace before the deadline. Institutional scrutiny is constant, with every action logged and subject to review by higher authorities in the chain. Another alert requires your response, forcing you to prioritize tasks while maintaining the integrity of the investigation. Your supervisor delivers additional case files, reminding you of the importance of accuracy in the upcoming report. The trace summary grows more complex, with each hub adding layers to the map that must be documented precisely. You fine-tune the monitoring parameters to better track the weakening signal, logging each adjustment for the record. The assignment phase concludes with initial data gathered, ready to move into the detailed trace under continued oversight. You now enter the trace phase, tasked with monitoring the network to map the anomaly through multiple procedural hubs. You input the initial trace command, logging the first hop with a timestamp and user ID for reference. An alert record pops up, requiring you to acknowledge it while maintaining focus on the ongoing trace. You seek guidance from a veteran analyst to confirm the trace path, ensuring no errors in the mapping process. The signal weakens as you trace the second hop, demanding careful adjustment of monitoring parameters to stay on track. Each keystroke is logged, contributing to the comprehensive record that will be reviewed by higher authorities. Your supervisor requests a status report, adding pressure to complete the trace accurately before the deadline. You cross-reference camera feeds with the trace logs to verify the endpoint's location and activity patterns. The trace reveals unexpected hubs, forcing you to document each detail meticulously for the investigation memo. The institutional infrastructure hums quietly, supporting your efforts, but reminding you of the system's scale. You update the investigation log with the third hub's details, noting the signal's persistence despite interference. A supervisor's brief oversight confirms that your trace methods align with institutional protocols and expectations. Another anomaly alert interrupts, requiring immediate response while you prioritize the trace to maintain continuity. The trace summary grows, with each hub adding complexity that must be accurately mapped and reported. You refine the trace parameters, logging each adjustment to track the weakening signal through the network hubs. Consulting security personnel helps validate the trace endpoint, ensuring it matches observed surveillance data. The trace approaches its conclusion, mapping the endpoint after multiple hubs under increasing procedural pressure. The investigation clock continues to tick, reminding you that the report must be filed before the shift ends. You start compiling findings into a report, documenting every step of the trace for authority review. The trace phase concludes with data gathered, ready for the next stage of report compilation under scrutiny. You verify the trace's 12 hubs, cross-referencing each with log entries to ensure no discrepancies in the investigation memo. The clock shows only 30 minutes left, increasing time pressure and forcing efficient work under institutional deadlines. Collaborating with a fellow analyst reveals new anomaly data that must be integrated into the trace, adding procedural complexity. You log the additional anomalies, noting their impact on the trace and the need for further verification in the investigation. The infrastructure's constant hum supports your work, but reminds you of the system's relentless pace and scale. A high-severity alert interrupts, requiring immediate attention, while you maintain focus on the primary trace investigation under pressure. The physical notes on the whiteboard map the investigation's progress, serving as a tangible record of procedural steps taken. You refine the monitoring parameters to track the weakening signal, logging each adjustment for accuracy in the trace summary. Supervisor oversight intensifies with direct communication, demanding concise reports on the trace's current status and increasing pressure. You secure the latest trace data, ensuring it is saved with the correct case ID before proceeding to the next step. The accumulation of empty coffee cups symbolizes the extended effort and mounting pressure of the monitoring shift. You begin drafting the trace summary, organizing 15 key points for inclusion in the final investigation report under review. Verifying the endpoint with camera feeds adds another layer of scrutiny, ensuring the trace aligns with observed surveillance data. Authority feedback arrives, pointing out areas for improvement and increasing the pressure to finalize the trace accurately. Physical signs of stress emerge, a subtle indication of the mounting procedural tension and institutional weight you bear. Incorporating authority feedback, you adjust the trace map, documenting each change to maintain investigation integrity under scrutiny. You set a 15-minute countdown for report submission, heightening the sense of urgency as the shift nears its end. The night shift environment isolates you, emphasizing the solitary nature of the investigation under increasing pressure. You complete the trace phase by archiving all data, ready for the next stage of report compilation under authority review. The trace is now finalized, with all hubs mapped, but the pressure to report accurately remains intense as the shift ends. Starting the report draft, you import the trace map and logs to ensure accurate documentation of the anomaly investigation. The clock ticks relentlessly, reminding you of the impending deadline for report submission as the shift concludes. You document the anomaly's initial detection with precise timestamps and alert codes, ensuring thorough investigative record keeping. Supervisor oversight continues as they monitor your progress, increasing the pressure to complete the report accurately and on time. Your reflection in the monitor reveals the concentration required to compile the report under increasing institutional scrutiny. Organizing the trace hubs into a structured table, you ensure clarity and compliance with reporting standards for review. Saving the first draft secures your work, but multiple revisions are expected before final submission to authority. The empty corridor outside symbolizes the solitary nature of the night shift and the weight of the investigation. A review meeting is scheduled, adding urgency to finalize the report draft before presenting it to superiors. Conducting a final review, you scan the report for any errors or omissions that could compromise its accuracy. Entering the report compilation phase, where every detail must be meticulously documented and prepared for authority evaluation. Supervisor feedback is integrated into the report, requiring adjustments to meet the high standards of institutional review. Handwritten notes provide a tangible record of the revision process, capturing the iterative nature of report compilation. Implementing the changes, you update the report draft, ensuring it aligns with supervisor directives and procedural guidelines. Adding appendices with log excerpts and trace maps enriches the report, providing comprehensive support for the investigation findings. The complex report interface highlights the detailed and systematic approach necessary for thorough investigation documentation. Submitting the report for review marks a critical step, but the process of authority evaluation is just beginning. Logging the submission ensures traceability, with the case ID and timestamp recorded for future reference and audit. A brief moment of respite follows submission, yet the anticipation of authority feedback and possible revisions remains. Preparing for the review meeting, you organize your notes and set up the report for presentation to superiors. The review meeting begins with authority figures scrutinizing every detail of your submitted report under institutional pressure. Authority oversight intensifies as the supervisor examines the report, demanding absolute accuracy in the investigation findings. You reference log entries with timestamps and trace maps to defend the report's conclusions during the authority evaluation. A query about anomaly detection requires you to pull up the alert record with severity levels to justify the monitoring response. The alert record interface displays the systematic tracking of anomalies, underscoring the procedural rigor of the investigation. Citing the investigation memo with case ID reinforces the report's credibility, aligning it with institutional documentation standards. Authority feedback identifies a trace summary error, requiring a quick revision to maintain the report's integrity before final approval. Typing corrections into the report demonstrates the iterative process of ensuring accuracy under hierarchical scrutiny. Sharing the updated report allows for immediate authority review, with every change logged for transparency and accountability. Authority approval is granted, updating the report status to reviewed and logging the supervisor's digital signature for audit. The meeting room ambience reflects the procedural weight of institutional review, with decisions impacting future monitoring actions. Logging the approval details ensures that the report's review process is fully documented for future reference and system audits. Post-meeting instructions direct you to archive the report, signaling the transition to the next phase of the investigation process. Handwritten notes capture the archiving procedures, highlighting the meticulous planning required for institutional compliance. Back at your desk, you initiate the archiving process by opening the system interface to submit the final report for filing. Setting the report to ready for filing involves attaching all supporting documents to ensure comprehensive archival of the investigation. The archiving interface displays progress indicators, emphasizing the systematic approach to preserving investigation data. A confirmation message indicates the report is queued for filing, with the case ID retained for tracking in the system records. Notifying the team about the report status ensures coordination, with the communication logged for procedural transparency. A moment of closure as the monitor dims, marking the completion of the report phase and anticipation of the filing stage ahead. The final phase begins as you prepare to submit the report and archive all investigation data under institutional oversight. Accessing the submission portal marks the first step in officially filing the report, with the interface demanding confirmation. The cursor's hesitation over the submission button underscores the weight of finalizing the investigation under scrutiny. Submitting the report initiates a system process, with the loading icon symbolizing the institutional machinery at work. The system confirms submission with a message detailing case ID and timestamp, logging the event for future audits. Supervisor communication arrives immediately, signaling the need for authority review before the archiving phase proceeds. Leaving the desk for the meeting room emphasizes the transition from individual work to institutional collaboration. Entering the supervisor's office, you see them scrutinizing the report on a large display, ready for discussion. Authority questions focus on trace details, demanding accuracy and completeness before approving the archiving process. The supervisor's note-taking captures key points, adding another layer of documentation to the investigation record. Clarifying with additional logs satisfies the supervisor, who signals approval with a nod, moving the process forward. Authority grants archiving permission via a system click, generating a log entry with supervisor ID for accountability. Returning to the dimly lit desk, the monitor's glow highlights the solitary nature of the final archiving tasks. Initiating the archiving, you select all investigation files for permanent storage, ensuring data preservation. The archiving process displays encryption and transfer progress, emphasizing the security measures in place. Server rack lights blink rhythmically, representing the physical location where archived data resides in the system. System confirms archiving completion, providing a summary of stored items and generating access logs for future reference. Marking the case as closed updates the system status, logging the action with timestamp and user ID for audit trails. The monitoring room stands empty at night, with standby lights casting long shadows, symbolizing the case's conclusion. The final screen displays the complete case record, archived and static, yet the trace of the investigation lingers in system memory.